VeeFam, what's up? My name is Mr. Messer, but you can call me Rob, and I'm here with another episode of VeeFam Sessions, and I am so delighted to be joined by podcaster, content creator, dad, creator of Alien Inc., just OG VeeFriend, OG awesome dude, Mr. Ian Lepkowsky, but you probably know him as your boy Kowski. Kowski, thank you so much for being here. How are you, brother?
Doing well, doing great. A pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm very grateful.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's a long time coming. It's a long time coming. I mean, you've been around forever. In my mental Rolodex, there's just a segment of people that I know are going to be here forever. And you're in there, and you're also like one of those people that like you have like the Madonna Prince thing going. Like everybody knows Kowski. You only need one word.
Like, what do Madonna and Prince have in common?
You're known by everyone. Can you give us the quick? I call it 55-second clip note version on Kowski and your come up before you ever heard the name Gary Vee or VeeFriends.
Before I heard the name Gary
Yeah,
Vee, because I was into Gary Vee like 10 years before VeeFriends. So that we're going
we're
that.
going way back.
So how I got into Gary Vee or just about me?
Your, as he would say, comic book number one of your life.
Comic book number one. Ian is born to two happy parents, not so happy in the first 4 years or so, split up. Ian is the child of split up divorced parents. That's a little bit rough for Ian. In high school, he kind of finds his way through his awkward years and roughness in middle school or elementary. Maybe I got a little bit picked on, a little bit bullied sometimes. But I found my way to the popular crowd at some point. High school transition just kind of changed. Became a guy who was more outspoken, broke out of this shell that I was in, no longer getting bullied. Found a love for technology, video games, mainly through video games and phones is like where I started getting more into tech. Eventually just fell in love with tech, but also didn't want to, for some reason, I didn't want to like do that for life. So went to school for English, but ended up right back in tech eventually. And that's what I do from then till now in a very short.
That was an excellent synopsis.
Cool.
What does that mean? Tech, especially in generations, it's moving faster and furious. Like, what does that mean for you? Like, what tech did you fall in love with?
So I just fell in love with like computers, like just going from like there not being computers or not being internet to there being internet. Like there was a game called Slingo. It was like bingo. You played it on AOL. To get into AOL, you had to listen to like a screeching robot demon be like, "Argh!" And like I don't know, it was just magical. Then I started looking into like, what is this thing? This is a computer. What is doing this? What is the processor? Who makes these? Oh, it's Intel. Like, how many cores does this thing have? What's the RAM on this thing? Gigabytes, megabytes. Talk to me. Like, that's my language.
Let's go. All right, real quick before we get into the meat and potatoes here, what was your AIM screen name?
I had a bunch of AIM screen names. I think settled on Kowski 713, but like I went through weird ones like Shadow Walker or like Moon Knight Guy or something. Like I had a bunch of them, and then
Everybody had weird ones. Yeah.
yeah, then eventually it was just Kowski 713, my name and then my birthday. So I went simple.
The password, the lost password protocols back then weren't there today. And so sometimes if you lost a password, you had to block. That's so cool. So you mentioned Gary Vee. You found him early. When was the first time you remember getting the name Gary Vee?
So the first time was honestly I couldn't tell you the exact first time, but it was an era where forget if I was in kind of like high school or college kind of moments, but looking for inspiration in like an inspirational figure and like all these like a bunch not all these but a few names were coming at me. There was like Ty Lopez was a guy back then that was like a big name or like a Grant Cardone, and then like Gary Vee was in there, Tony Robbins. Like some of these people are big or smaller. Like I didn't know the relevancy or who was you trust or don't or like, but eventually I kept listening to Gary Vee. The first year I heard Gary Vee, I just couldn't decide if I liked him or not. I didn't know. I couldn't decide if he was like a scammer or not. I hadn't listened to enough of these guys. But after kind of following a few of them for like a year ish, I was like, I think it was at some point I heard the Gary V loves the number 5 because that was the number on the Jets jersey that his mom knitted for him when they couldn't afford one, and that's why he like loves that. And I was like, oh, I like this guy. Like, okay, I could see if the rest of everything he says is stemming from there, then I could see it being super genuine and not just like a some sort of pitch or something. Which I just that's how I took it at first, which sounds funny because I love him now, but that was the first time I got into him. First time I met him was one year on his birthday. He had a shoe release. I forget which shoes it even was. I have them in my closet. I'm not gonna get them now, but they're like these green ones, and I had him sign a few pairs, and I sold like 2 pairs, and that paid for the other pair I kept and like a little bit extra. And I was like, yeah, like getting it. Except I shook his hand, dude, because I forgot, I didn't realize he was given the 5, and I shook it.
That's awesome. Is there a video of that somewhere?
I can't find the video. I try to look back to the date. It's like because someone was videotaping it,
Yeah.
and then while I was like meeting him, they brought in a birthday cake, and someone sang to him "Happy Birthday," and it happened to be just while I was standing up there. I'm like, there has to be a bunch of videos of this. Could never find it.
Yeah. In the raw footage somewhere.
What there is a video of is Gary Vee talking about how he hates it when chumps come up and grab the 5. I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
that's sweet.
I remember seeing it. That's funny.
I saw that after. I was like, oops.
That's funny. Be a great mashup clip if you could find the original. But yeah, I think the greens were early, like maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, yeah, super early.
So yeah, you were fast to find that. Was he, in your journeys and all of your endeavors, was he in your consistently? Were you following him? Was he always in your algo? Did he always seek him out, or was it just kind of like
Yeah,
here and there? As you,
once he got into my algo, he stayed into my algo. Ty Lopez fell out. Grant Cardone kind of fell out. I respect the dude. I think he's got cool stuff. I was reading his book, like something 10x or something like that's all good stuff. But those just like weren't my guys. I needed someone who's like, I'm gonna move forward, but I also have like this really big heart. And I'm not saying Grant Cardone doesn't or whatever, but like Gary Vee super does in a way that I align with, and that's like I want to move forward. I like the entrepreneurial aspect. I like, maybe that's not exactly me, but it pushes me to be a better version of myself, and that's good. But it's coming from someone who's not all like sales. Because I've had sales jobs, and more than one sales job I've had, I feel like the culture is maybe pushing you to do unethical things or kind of what's ethical and what's not is the culture. And I'm like, that's unethical to me. Like,
yeah,
saying things that aren't lies, but like it makes someone believe something that's not true. Like we had a company, I'm not going to say whatever, but like there was like a line in the contract that where the price was listed twice, and they'd say, "What's that?" And we were supposed to say, "Well, the top reflects the bottom." What does that mean? What it means is you're getting charged twice, Like, yeah, but the top reflects the bottom doesn't sound as bad as, well, you're getting charged. And I'm like, I can't do this. So I had to find someone who had that salesy part, but like not the like, oh, the top reflects the bottom. Like, I hate that. So Gary Vee became that for me, and then yeah, always stayed in my algo. I didn't mint VeeFriends 1. I didn't go to VCon 1. I watched it from the sidelines. I had my hand on the mint button. The Dutch auction freaked me out. I felt like no matter what I did, I was going to be buying at the wrong price. It just kept going down. I was like, I'm going to buy for 2,000. Someone's going to get in for 50 later. I don't, and I made a bad decision. So I sat on the sidelines. Then after VCon 1, I had really, because I've been watching the whole time. So I felt the burn of not clicking that button. It's not like I didn't have, I could have done it, and I just didn't out of a decision. Not like, oh, I don't have this money, or it's like, I can't afford this at the time. I could have. I just fumbled hard. And then after VCon 1, I was at NFT NYC, and I was like, okay, whatever. I have to get in here now. So on the train one night on the way home from NFT NYC after VCon 1, I just clicked on a very rare reflective rhino, and I'm like, all right, I'm in. I got I got my VCon tickets for the next 2 years. Let's go.
wow, on the train. That's like ballsy, like with the spotty service and like the mobile.
Thinking that I'm like, what am I doing? But something in me, like I just saw it. It was there. It was ending in like 30 minutes, and I'm like, I don't think I'll be off the train by then. Like, I don't know if they're gonna relist it. Like, this is. I had been looking for a little bit. I'm like, I don't like these characters, this and that. It just hit, and I was like, I guess I'm doing it.
I'm trying to think of when on the calendar NFT NYC is. That's in the fall, right?
It was. I think it was in like May or June that year. They've been moving the date.
So do
When
you
was VCon?
big like happening or like drop or anything to like push you?
No, it was everyone that year. NFT NYC was right after VCon 1. So I kept seeing all these VeeFriends at NFT NYC, and everyone was like, because I was like into the Gary Vee stuff. So I was like, all right, I missed the mint. I got to check this out. I minted a VF2. I was like, all right, I got to see what this is about. And one of the things that really pushed me over is one of my best friends from when I was growing up, he was a VeeFriend and he had minted. And I'm like, dude, like, when did you get into Gary Vee?
You know,
Last time we had really talked, like he didn't even seem like he would like Gary Vee. And I'm like, you love Gary Vee? You love him like I love him? You love him more than I love him? You minted? I'm like, oh my God. And then we started talking again. And like that was, it was just like an energy, a vibe. I started making friends with people there. Everyone was super welcoming. People like, we met at like the cafe I think they had that year. Like Andy did like a talk in this little cafe thing that they rented out. And then like people were like, hey, let's go to the next thing together. And I'm like, oh, it's sick. And that was it, dude. Just written in stone. Family forever. 55 years, 555 years, if I live that many.
I love that. That's so cool. I had one of those weird instances too. Like this past weekend, where I bumped into someone that I was the camp counselor. He was the camper. I was a camp counselor like 12 years ago. We just like bumped into each other. And it was just one of those surreal things of like, you know, this universe just brings random
Synchronicities.
different spheres in your life together. So cool. So you're obviously in it. Do you like, what, did you get it right away? Like, maybe from a Web3 standpoint, or you're like, you were obviously into Gary, he had a great track record. Like, what, did you get the art, the characters? Like, what for you made it like, I believe in this thing?
Community from day one. Like, oh, this is an experience, and I'm gonna have more of these experiences because of this ticket basically to this experience, but like not just this experience, anything that this company and brand is doing where they're going to show up at another experience, right? And first it was just NFT NYC, but now they're at Comic Con, now they're there at card convention. So it's like, okay, you don't need the VeeFriends Series 1 to go to that, but I always saw that as this is my entry into this community and like I'm committed and I want to this is the thing. Like I got it. Once I missed it, dude, I was like, whatever. And honestly, in retrospect, could I have waited and got in at a better price and got an even better one? Yes. But I regret nothing, because like I don't believe in that first off. But also everything great came from that. So
Yeah.
and I never planned on selling the thing, dude. So
And I love the Rhino has really grown on me. It's
I
not
like
the
it.
character that I was ever like am I super, but I talked to a few people and just one thing about it being reflective. It's fascinating. It's definitely my top 10 now.
I reflect a lot.
Uh, so were you tapping like the spaces in Discord early? Like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you were in.
Discord I was on less, but the spaces, I love the spaces. Sal was hosting the spaces, Jeremy had spaces, people in the VeeFriends community, to anyone listening, these are big names at the time. Web3 Stoop, they had the V women. I don't really want to say what the name was at the time. It was a body part. It was yeah. I didn't know the rules. I don't know if you could say. All right, cool. So that's what it was. But yeah, so they, there was a bunch of groups. V Dow, Cohen, like I'm sorry if anyone I'm leaving out, but there was a bunch of things, is the point. Yeah, I was in all of that.
Where, and there's only so many people that experience both times, and there's a lot of exciting times then, and there's a lot of exciting times now. How would you, maybe this is an unfair question, and it's definitely an open-ended question, but how would you like compare the flavor and like, the juju of the community back then, with all those names and shows you listed, and now, the whatnots, it's live, 555 spaces out.
Yeah, so I think from the come up, right? Like there was the initial like we don't know who anybody is. What's your PFP? Like everybody was behind some sort of cartoon. So there was the magic of just seeing people in person for the first time. It's a novelty. It's a first time thing. You can't find out who someone is twice. It's not the failure of any project. It's just the nature of it. So there was that to it, right? That was like magical to people meeting the cartoon character in real life and seeing like, oh, this is what you really look like. So by VCon 2 to 3, I think a lot of people knew what each other looked like. And definitely by VCon 3, like that stuff was kind of gone. Like oh, I don't know who anybody is. But so, is it worse? No, that aspect of it had declined. What had increased in proportion is, well, now you know these people. So now you're actually, it's literally, I mean, it's going to sound cliche, but it's like strangers become acquaintances becomes friends become family. But that's what it is. It went from the magic, but it was magical at every step. When strangers became acquaintances, that was amazing. When acquaintances became friends and you got to know these people a little better and you go, I'm gonna see you at Comic Con now, or I'll see you at this conference or the card convention or something else that they're doing. Oh, we're friends now. Like I didn't just see you at this one thing, and it's not even just the 3 years that we signed up for. It's going to be other things, and it's not just those things. Even if I don't leave my house, we're going to talk online, and we might be in a group chat, and we might be on a Spaces, or we might be on a podcast. And it's like, okay, these are my friends. And then at some point by year 3, yeah, friends become family. If you've been, I don't know how people are, but if I'm friends with someone for 2 or 3 years and it's good, all right, cool, you're family. Especially if it's people with VeeFriends values, it's not like you work with someone for 3 years and all the people, your coworkers are family. VeeFriends, there's a facilitation because of all the positive values and the alignment. Some people call it a cult. Sure. What is a cult? It's a culture. What do you call a bunch of people who like a movie? It's a cult classic. It has a cult following. I don't think that's a negative thing. I think that's just a term that we use to describe a massive community really gathering around something. So yeah, that's what it is. But that's what I'm in it for. It's not like one of those bad cults like they see on TV. Cults always get a bad rap. No, it's a culture. It's a cultural phenomenon of people who love life and each other's. It just evolved, and I think I think it's as great as it was now then, or they can't be compared. But I'm happy all through it.
I love that. I love that bit of the cult. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative temptation to it. All right, man, I love that. And you said something, at the beginning in there, the whole PFP thing, the people behind the PFPs were the character. Like, the characters didn't really exist yet. Like, Gary drew them, but we didn't have any. There was no cartoons, there's no comics, there's no cards. Like, it was just like, Jeremy was the Heart Trooper.
He
Like,
is. He will forever be
you know
the
what I mean? Like, he's not the Heart Trooper, but he is.
Yes.
And the community vibes, like, yes, granted, there's a lot of money at play and there was a lot of financial talk, but overall, from the top, like, it was just belief in this thing that nobody knew how it was gonna shape up. It took a while for collabs and announcements and things to brew and for it to grow, obviously. But yeah, it was just like a white blank slate, you know, paved road, and everyone was just there like for the ride no matter what, which is a really cool thing.
And I will say, some people have stepped away and faded out, and some new people have joined. But that's anything, you know.
Yeah, and I imagine a lot of people, like, I've even noticed in this, we're talking in February 2025, winding down, referring to as the BTC before Topps Chrome. Like, we're winding down just because I think there's going to be a huge change. But some people are popping in, and I'm like, huh, I don't really know this name. Like, I've never seen them, but they're V1, they're OG V1 holders. They're popping back in. So, like, people are going to come and go.
I'm gonna be here for life, whole time. Check my receipts.
People have been quiet the whole time as well, and just kind of watching content. That's fine. Like, there's no wrong way to do it.
Of course.
It's really cool to be able to look back and reflect, right now. Going through in the past couple of years. Actually, let me go here first. I love talking to people about, especially while we're on this topic, that's March 2022, like the We're Evolving week, the We're Evolving post, that the first time like the Rare Robot dropped and you saw the first iteration of the Series 2 character. What were your thoughts then when you first saw, like, oh, this is not a doodle anymore. This is a real.
Yeah, I'm gonna say relief. I'm gonna say relief because I was unsure. I was into the whole thing, right? And I said it and I meant it. But there was a part of me that was like, bro, what is he doing with these like stick figures? Like what's gonna happen? You know, is he gonna draw the actual character? Like I didn't know he was gonna get a company to do it. So when I saw that, or an art team or someone who's catered to doing exactly that in the way that they executed it, so I was just relieved because I did have some doubt and skepticism. Even though I was in it for the long haul, like to me, it was about the experiences, and I wasn't sure how they were gonna translate it to like a show or something. I'm like, you can't have a stick figure show. What are they doing?
Yeah, it's fascinating, especially to think about the physicals too, like with the Christie's draft. If you remember how many, over $1 million in literal doodles that are just slabbed. It just goes back to that belief. Yeah, that was super cool. I think that was a really breaking point the first time we saw this series two characters. Were you, and then the cards came quickly after. Were you like a collectible guy, physical collectible guy prior to this?
Yeah, collector or hoarder, right? Which one am I?
Open the curtain. Talk to us about your collecting history prior to VeeFriends. Me,
So I used to be huge into Pokemon, fiendish for Pokemon, buying, selling Pokemon, ripping packs, buying boxes on wizardsofthecoast.com, like trying to like wholesale them and stuff. So I was big into Pokemon, but like I was also at one point collecting coins, and then I was collecting keychains. At some point I had like a Tamagotchi collection, which I couldn't handle the Tamagotchis, bro. They kept dying, and I was so empathetic. Like I felt them dying like a dog or something. You know what I mean? And like I couldn't have them. My mom had to get rid of them. But like I don't know, clothes, hats. I love hats. I don't know. I've collected slash acquired a lot of different pins. I had pins before VeeFriends too.
are you strictly collecting? Are you flipping, buying, trading? Are you playing that game too, or just strictly collecting?
At the moment, I'm full collector mode. I've had periods where I would flip things. When I was doing Pokemon, I was flipping things. I don't know, dude. With the V friends, like, what if I really believe in this? Like, am I gonna play the short term flip game, or am I gonna do kind of like the all or nothing? Like, I'm just gonna have this, and like either in 30 years it's like some Disney stuff, or like it's not.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm almost more on that side with it. Pokemon, I was buying and selling shoes. I used to get a bunch of shoes, Nikes, like watch the drops and stuff. Was like in a group of people to like, hone our efforts to make sure we got the shoes.
You're well rounded.
I was flipping the shoes because like shoes, I there was no long term vision for me with the shoes. Like shoes, you either wear them and you're gonna wear them out. I'm no good with keeping them clean, or you're gonna hold them probably just to flip them. But I don't know. Like they don't go up so much if you hold them for a long time. Like so they were easy to flip because I was not getting addicted to the shoes. But like, dude, the V Friends pins, I just like the way they look. I like looking at them things, dude. I like colors. I like cartoons. I've always liked cartoons. I like things that are visually appealing and aesthetic. That's one of my side things is I have a clothing brand. All the stuff I draw is loud and visually like whoa, like grabs your attention whether you like it or not. It's loud. V Friends has a lot of contrasting colors. It's kind of loud. I like loud.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic segue because I wanted to talk about uh, your project and Alien Eggs and all that. So tell us the origin of that, and maybe the scope and sequence of where you started and where you're
Yeah, so Alien Inc. Like, where did it start? It started one day when I was in college, and I was just, exploring the world, right? Like, just checking out, if psychics are real or not by going to a bunch of them. And one of them that I had went to, like, after I'd seen a few others, I had a different experience than like any other one where this dude was like, you got like this language inside of you, and it's got to like come out in the form of art. You got to start painting. And I was like, okay, I don't know. I didn't relate to it really. So I was like, I don't know if I'm into this guy. And then he was like, no, I'm serious. Like, you're not taking me seriously. And then he went and got a canvas and this black tube of paint. And he was like, leave here with this and like, follow me or not. But like, here's your first step. And I was like, bro, I paid like what, $30 for this? Like, how much is that tube of like, that's acrylic paint, bro. That's not like necessarily cheap paint. And the canvas was decent size. I'm like, bro, that's at least like $15 or $20. So he just like, I paid him $30 and he just gave me back $20, like, so I could go paint. And I was like, I gotta try. Like, all right, like, what do I got to lose? Like, I just had to get some other paint. Like, I had to get like more. He was like paint it black first, and then paint something over the black. And I ended up doing that. But instead of paint, I don't know how I even got this in my head or what, but like I got these like acrylic gel pen like paint pen things that like are supposed to go on black paper, but I painted the canvas black and then I started drawing on them with the paint pens and I just started drawing like these symbols and shapes and squiggles and like it looked to me and some other people they were like, "Yo, that looks like an alien language or like some Egyptian hieroglyphics." And I was like, so it first started out, I called it alien hieroglyphics. Then I was doing that for a bit as just like a hobby, and one of my friends was like, "Bro, like no one's buying canvases, bro. We're like 20 something, like whatever. Like which one of our friends has a house, bro? Who's gonna hang a canvas in their room? Like, who do you think you are?" Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, kinda." And he's like, "What if you put it on like a clothes, bro? Like, what if you put it on like a sock or something, or like a t-shirt?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to do that." He's like, "Bro, aren't you like smart? Don't you think you're smart? Like, can't you do that shit?" And I was like, yeah, probably. So I figured it out, and then I got it onto so I have a website, and I could put all my designs. I do it through an iPad. I upload them, and then I could spec it out on the clothing and do hats, t-shirts, socks, pants, like all sorts, backpacks, all sorts of hoodies, whatever. And like you name it, probably it's on their mugs. So we could print on anything, and it's not like, oh, I'm going to retire from IT probably next month, from it. Some money comes in here and there from it. It's kind of like I treat it a little bit more like a hobby than a business because I make the money that supports my family doing IT. So I'm not gonna like, and I don't hate it. I actually love it. I don't love it as much as I love drawing, but I love it enough that like I'm not gonna be like, I'm quitting my job today and I'm gonna go all in on art. No, I'm not gonna do that. That's not the best idea for me financially or for my happiness. But I work at it slowly, right? I'm in my 30s. Maybe in 20 years, if I just keep slowly working at it, I'll get to where someone who was doing it super fast got in 5. I'll get there in 20, and maybe I don't know, maybe one day, bro. You know what I mean? Or maybe I'll retire and then go all in. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is, but it makes me happy. And I'm passionate about it and I feel good doing the designs. And I think it has a funny, cool backstory. So so here's the other thing. Once I started drawing the alien hieroglyphics, like when I was a little kid, I felt like I didn't fit in, and I would like write these backstories for myself. Like maybe I'm like Harry Potter. Maybe the wizards are gonna come for me one day, and I'm just waiting to go to Hogwarts because I don't fit in with my family. Or you know what? It's not. I'm not a wizard. I'm an alien, right? And I look like a human because they put an alien soul in a human body, but they're gonna come back. They're coming back. I'm an alien, I think, or something. And I would have a couple backstories, but my favorite two were the wizard and the alien. I like being a wizard. I like being an alien. One of them was like maybe I was like on a pirate ship and I got lost at sea, and then my parents just found me and like really like I wasn't. Maybe these aren't my parents. I didn't like that one as much. There was a few, but wizard and alien,
Some comics.
and that's why those are my two favorite VeeFriends characters. That's also why I love the Alien Inks because it fit my already existing alien backstory.
That's alpha right there.
That's Alpha.
That's super cool. So like that's amazing that you just found that like because he was like, you need this, and he was right. And
Yes.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So you would
Funny
also
story, real quick. The same psychic years later, I was unemployed and I didn't know what to do and I was in between jobs and he goes, go into real estate. And again, I was like, I don't want to be in real estate whatsoever. But I was in a low point and I thought, all right. So I asked the agent who was selling my mom's house to get me into real estate, and she goes, "You really don't look like you belong in real estate. You look like you belong in like an Apple store." And I said, "Yeah, that would be the dream." She goes, "Really? Because I could get you a recommendation. Would you take that instead?" And I was like, yeah. So like he also kind of got me my first job at Apple, which I loved being there too. So like maybe psychics are real, maybe they're not, but I had a good experience.
well, yeah, got this dude.
I don't know if he'll come on. I can ask him.
You don't have to ask him. Potentially, potentially, when we do another loop in a few years.
That's good.
You also content creator. You also a podcast. You have a podcast of your own, the Talking About Life podcast. So you learned a lot about yourself from art. I'm curious, what have you learned about yourself? And you post a lot of content, Twitter, TikToks. Like, I'm curious what you learned about yourself through posting content.
I don't even know, like a million things. What do you learn about yourself? I guess directly from content, I guess I've learned how much I enjoy talking to people, talking to friends, like having a podcast type conversation. Like I just like conversations. I like longer, deeper conversations. I
Mhm.
don't enjoy having small talk. I don't like to pretend to talk about the weather if it ain't really all that interesting, like, hey, the sun is behind a cloud today. Kind of sunny, kind of cloudy. It's like, no, not for me. The hour podcast or like the after party. I'm always about the after party. I go to the party just so we could get to the after party. That is the doorway to the after party and possibly the after party where you just end up with less people and deeper conversations over time. So I've learned that I love that both in real life and on podcasts. So I pursue that when I can. Always happy to talk to people. I like talking to strangers. I learned some of the people on, my podcast, I had never met them in person. I had only seen them online or hadn't seen their face even online. I hadn't even seen their face until we did the podcast. They were just a PFP and they weren't like undoxed or whatever, but like, I just hadn't seen their face. They don't post their face very much. They weren't hiding it, but and I was like, I love talking to people I've never talked to. I love people who I talk to a lot. I love talking. So that's something I learned, but I also love listening, right? So I also love learning about people. So I love to talk. I love to be the center of attention. But I learned on the podcast, my favorite podcasts aren't the ones where I'm talking the most. As a guest, I feel like, okay, I'll talk more. But like when I'm interviewing someone, I do my best to try to step back to learn whatever I can from whoever about their life. And I don't know. I feel like learning about other people's just lives just enriches my own. You hear about this person lost their sister, or this person's wife cheated on them, or this person's business partner robbed them and they came back from that. And you're just like, huh, like, what are those people's experiences? What are my experiences? Where are they now? Like, where am I now? And like, all of that together makes me a better person once I reflect on it, like a rhino.
It comes around. That's, that's so strong. There's one parallel to me there too. This was definitely an exercise, partially to get this or this to get that listening. Still, there's some people that would say I need a lot more help.
Me too.
But yeah, it's like my exercise department. And yeah, like you, I feel like this is the forum I give people to tell their stories. So I'm just gonna shut up, turn on good questions, and
Yeah, it's about asking good questions always.
I don't need to be the right shot.
I found that out both. So I got monetized on the X recently. It was a fun journey doing it. But I learned that like asking the best questions and the right questions and in the moment, just having those questions, that was what got you the most engagement in the replying to people. Like people are like, just reply to everything. But with what? Questions, thoughtful questions that people will genuinely want to answer that could start a conversation. And I was like, that's what I was doing on the podcast too. Like I keep finding my way back into like for some reason it's like the life's giving me this lesson like remember it's super important to ask the right questions thoughtfully and in the right moment. And I'm like, okay, seems important. Seems very important.
I know part of the playbook is to have notifications on for big accounts if you want to get monetized and just be able to reply all that. But I'm curious, I know like every big account has a rabbit hole of like other accounts like it. What account did you find on that journey that's super cool?
I honestly can't remember a specific account. So I have a guide for this. If anyone wants to DM me, I just have to add your email to it. It's like a Google Docs. I'll just share it with you. But I outlined, I think, 100 accounts that have the most followers on X as accounts because inevitably the ones that have the most followers are going to have probably the highest level of engagement. There's some exceptions. So I followed every single one of those 100 accounts with alerts plus 25 to like 50 other smaller accounts to just be hitting it at two different levels. Because sometimes, if you're the biggest reply on a smaller account, that'll get you more views. But then even like a lesser reply on an account where a lot of people comment, if that thing gets 500 million views, you can comment a period and it's going to get views. You know what I mean? Like some of them are just easy like if you're following and you get the alert and you're there at the right time. But it was definitely the biggest accounts that get the most views with alerts, answering as quickly as possible and answering with a thoughtful question that would inspire people to comment on it, as well as if you could real quick come up with a grok image and actually better that you see the news cycle coming. So like for like the whole Luigi Mangione thing, I just kept coming up with these gifs in Grok of like Luigi from Super Mario like doing assassinations or like dressed up like the guy from Assassin's Creed and like every time something about Luigi would post CNN or Fox or like anything, the major news cycles, you just throw those out there and people are cracking up. They'll comment a little smiley face. So there is a strategy too.
Yeah, it's a lot. I really thought I've been going back and forth. It's a real commitment. Like you gotta be all in.
I was all in.
Yeah, and congratulations because it's hard.
Yeah, now that I've done
In
it
the Super Bowl,
less
I was thinking, man, this would be a great time to be like in this game, with memes and you know conversation. I was like, oh man, this is a good monetization.
Super Bowl, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One of my friends who was like, we were kind of sharing our journey together. Like, he got a crazy amount of views on Super Bowl, and it pushed him over to monetize, like to actually get the 5 million in 3 months.
Very cool. Pivoting back to VeeFriends world, you're a dad. How old are your kids?
I have one daughter. She's about 2 years and 2-ish months.
Amazing. So, you're. I mean, have you introduced VeeFriends?
Yeah, always,
Let's
all the
go.
time.
Like, are you doing the cartoons, plushies?
I think the cartoons are a little too much for
Yeah.
her at the moment, so not the cartoons. Although, like, I'll put them on, and she wants Elsa, so it won't last long with the cartoons. They'll seep in one day. But we started with the Squishmallows. I don't even know. She was like one or so. Whenever they came out, the Squishmallows, and however old she was, but she was like not even talking barely. And now she could say Karma Kiwi. She could say that if you're like, say Karma Kiwi, she could say it back. Back then, that thing was wee wee, bro. It was this big purple squishy thing, and that was her wee wee, and that was the best she could come to saying kiwi. But she was already learning the VeeFriends characters, and that was like one of the first, like, not her first word, but like, I don't know, in her first 50 or something, like maybe, like. And I was a proud dad, proud VeeFriends dad, V dad at that moment. But we have also, I have all the Macy's figures, so like the solid ones, and I keep those out on display, and she knows those are daddy's toys. I have another set that I let her play with too. She likes the wizard, she likes the cow, she likes the giraffe, like she likes all the ones that like she sees a lot in like her books, like cow and giraffe are big.
Mhm.
She likes the peacock is colorful. I have all the stuffed ones too from Macy's. And then I have the pin. She loves my pins. She always wants to touch my pins. I go, no, those are daddy's toys only. Only looking.
There's something about the pants. Maybe it's the noise they make.
She goes, I want to play. I go, no playing with them, just looking. And then she'll look with me. And then she'll go, what's that one? I'll be like, that's the genuine giraffe. And she'll be like, giraffe.
It's nice.
So we do be friends. And I got Meet Me in the Middle for her. She likes Meet Me in the Middle.
Always excited to, this kids' generation is gonna grow up with it, and what they're gonna spend in the world, and for our families too.
Yeah, the funniest thing too with my daughter, if I'm not wearing my hat, she goes, "Daddy, where's your hat?" Like she does, like I'm not daddy without my wizard hat.
Community is a word that's always been entrenched in our world here. What does it mean to you? The word community.
Community means to me that I could actually go somewhere in real life and shake someone's hand repeatedly and have a good time with them and laugh with them and eat with them and dance with them, and that we could keep doing that for an extended period of time. But while we're doing that, we also have an idea that unites us, and that's VeeFriends or beyond VeeFriends. It's the qualities that the VeeFriends embody that drew us to VeeFriends. It's the kindness, it's the generosity, it's the entrepreneurial spirit, it's willing to be self-reflective, self-aware, wanting to be a better person every day, wanting to push yourself. People who feel like there's a greater amount of pain and discomfort in staying the way you are than doing what it takes or paying the cost to change and get better. Like that's easier for people like us because it hurts so much to stagnate and not do anything to grow. We got to grow. And we want to grow with other people. We don't want to just grow alone. We want to see how other people are growing, and not in a way where it's like I'm growing better than you, but like, oh, you grew with this fertilizer, maybe I'll use this fertilizer. And then we put the whole garden onto that fertilizer because it's the best one, and then we're all growing great from that. That's an analogy, not literally fertilizer, but you know what I'm saying here.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I like it. I love it. A lot of great metaphors in there. A couple more questions before we get to our last segment. Number one, what character? We talked about a lot of characters, and a few have come up multiple times. So, what character do you feel like you need to spend more time with?
So, what time to more time with? Maybe just Jackal. I feel like Jackal is a sleeper character, and I will humbly tell the people that Gary Vee sent me a VF1 just Jackal like a year or two ago, and I feel like I'm holding that thing forever probably, unless someone's gonna trade me like a gold patient panda. All right, maybe but otherwise like I'm planning on holding it, and I just feel like maybe it means something. Like I don't know how much thought he put into it or not. Maybe he was just like drunk and on his wine binge, throwing out NFTs. But doesn't matter. I think the universe kind of, even if people aren't aware of things, I think there's meaning to be found in things. And I think even if there isn't, the most fun thing you could do is believe there is and then give things meaning. So, why not do that? That's the best way, I think. So I've been looking for like, just Jackal, like and then I thought, like, sometimes I made some critical posts, but like when I make a critical post, I try to really say, I didn't like this that the person did. I understand maybe I did this in that, and maybe that's what made them do this, but I still think it was an overreaction on their part, even though maybe I wasn't perfect. And I feel like that's pretty just. I try to be just in things. And I'm like, maybe he saw some of those posts. Maybe there was a little bit of thought in there. Maybe it was the universe, but maybe it's a reminder to be more just. Like that's a quality that maybe sometimes you go too far left or too far right. Try to just be just in justice. So that one I maybe should spend more time.
It's so interesting too, because again, another character that's just not on a lot of people's radars.
Not,
If
not at all.
you dig in, there's a lot of good nuggets there. There's a lot of good nuggets. Great answer. I really like that.
Thank you.
Difficult question incoming, because it's hard to narrow it down in this amazing group of people that we kind of choose to spend time with. But a lot of people shout out people publicly on the timeline. A lot of people do amazing things and don't want anyone to know about it. But if to blow the whistle on someone in a good way, in a positive way, who would you like to give roses to? If I give you a few seconds here.
So I would like to give roses to my friend Jenny. She's Crypto Girl on X or Crypto G8RL if you're trying to follow her. But she was one of the first people that welcomed me into the VeeFriends community. Like when I said I met my friend and then we went somewhere with other people, like she was one of the people that I think like I posted something like, oh, I'm getting in with the VeeFriends. I'm coming to this thing. And then she was someone else. She's like, oh, I'll be there. And I didn't really totally know who she was, or maybe we had like talked in a space or something. But like, I was like, oh, I kind of recognize this person. Like, dope. Like, that this is going to be one of the first people I'm meeting from like the internet. Like, that's awesome. And it worked out. We've been friends ever since. We both live in New York. So like she's always kind of had my back. I've had her back. Like if one person sees a VeeFriends thing or something that's happening in New York or like, any sort of event, she's always made me feel included in that and everything else. And I don't have a ton of friends that are local to me. Even my friend who was into VeeFriends, he ended up moving to Florida to go hang out with Dalton. And now him and Dalton are hanging out all the time and I'm jelly.
Really?
Yeah, he's good friends with Dalton, my friend Steve. And they both live in Florida. But but yeah, anyway. But Jenny's still in New York. Recently she won an online giveaway to go see Mike Posner. She had a +1. She invited me to go last minute. I was like, okay, definitely I'm going. Like, I'm gonna just like get out of work and go straight to this. Like, forget how long I'm gonna be out tonight. I'm gonna sell this to my wife. It's Mike Posner. I'm gonna go meet Mike Posner. Come on. She gotta let me do it. She understood. But that wouldn't have been possible without her. And just a bunch of other things that like we've invited each other to. And I had a buddy that also loved VeeFriends, because like my wife does not love VeeFriends as much as I do. She doesn't love them particularly at all. It's not her thing. She thinks I'm a crypto nerd. She kind of says it lovingly, kind of jokingly. So it's nice to have just like a platonic relationship with someone that lives in New York that I could go hard with VeeFriends with. That's my buddy that I can invite to stuff. So shout out to Jenny, Crypto Girl.
Shout out Jenny. Fantastic. Wonderful. Kowski, Ian, thank you so much for coming. So I think I met you VCon 23. I think it was the first time I met you. Chuck E. Cheese in Brooklyn. We got to jail. Took the train. Do you remember?
Yeah. We almost, or one of us, who almost missed a train? You? Or we both almost missed a train? I forgot. One of us had a really close call with the train. I forget who.
I remember. I remember that was
It was.
long night, not because I missed the train.
No, we just caught like it was like one more minute and we would have missed it. I think it was me. I think one more minute and I would have missed it, but I just got it and like we left at the perfect time.
Super fun to anytime you meet, like you get to just go in a smaller setting, you get to go deeper.
We went to the after party, bro. That's why we were on the train. We were the more intimate. We stayed through the night.
Usually at Brooklyn Drive. So fun. Love those memories. It's just another all call to if you have an opportunity to connect. I don't know, no matter how group, how big or small, just go for it. I want to wrap up with a segment I call Micro Macro Spitfire. So I'm going to throw a whole bunch of questions at you really quick. You can answer one word in the macro, yes, no, one word answer, or get your microscope. So here we go, Micro Macro Spitfire with your boy Kowski. Here we go. Favorite teacher you had growing up and one reason why.
Ms. Perez, I thought she was rather pretty and nice.
The secret talent you have that most people don't know.
Secret talent. It's a hard one. I don't know if I have secret talents. I'm pretty out there. I believe that I'm a great writer. Agree or disagree, but I don't think many people know that.
If we walked into 15-year-old Kowski's room, what posters are we seeing on the wall?
Probably. So I'm laughing because whatever posters you're seeing, they're half burnt. When I was around 15, I found Zippo lighters for the first time, and I lit everything in my room on fire and melted it. But I probably still had posters up from Pokemon, Batman, some Spider-Man stuff. I was into like Marvel and Pokemon big, so probably a bunch of those. A little bit burnt on the bottom.
Keep the lighters away.
I think I grew out of it. I do like fire though.
You kind of just alluded to my next question, but what was your favorite IP growing up?
Pokemon. Pokemon hardcore.
What's your favorite physical piece of VeeFriends?
The gold Flex and Fox figurine.
Good one. It doesn't get enough limelight.
Nah, it doesn't. I don't know why more people don't love it. I love mine.
Favorite concert you've ever been to?
Dave Matthews in Paris, where I met him outside the venue before the concert, and we got to like talk for a little bit. And he said I reminded him of another friend he had named Ian.
We not. Hold on.
So before I followed around Gary Vee, I was following around Dave Matthews Band. My mom's seen like 200 shows. She started taking me since I was a kid. I've seen like 100 shows. So we followed him like all across America and also to Europe and a few different countries in Europe. And one of the times I met him in Paris and it was amazing.
Oh, we need to tap into this. Oh, we need to do part two.
I was on MTV once and they interviewed me about all the concerts I went to. It was also kind of cool with Damien on TRL.
Yeah. Were you at Central Park in 03?
For what?
For Dave Matthews.
I don't have a good memory. My mom could tell you if I was there or not. I've seen 100 shows, bro. I don't know what year, what decade, what time it was.
Central Park was the show. It was free. I know, great line.
I'd say no then, but I honestly, I'm telling you, my memory is shot. 2003, bro. That's so many. I was a different person.
Even alive.
It was like I was barely alive. It's 33 now. It's 20 years ago. Like I don't even.
Oh, I'm only 5 years older. But yeah,
my memory's not as good.
You were young. Wow, that's fantastic. I'm in the high 50s. I kind of lost count. I lost my original batch of ticket stubs. Still,
yeah, I wish I had mine. I swear to God, I don't remember.
My first one, I was 12. Amazing. Favorite movie?
The Green Mile.
Wine, beer, or coffee?
Coffee. Favorite
V?
Meeting Andy.
Favorite answer? Pony or the koala? 2025.
I like the koala.
Bougie hotel or hiking camping in the woods?
A bougie hotel. Fuck the woods.
Would you rather have a 2-hour group dinner experience with Gary, like you and people, or a 10-minute one-on-one?
2 hours, but I've weaseled myself into sitting next to him.
Of course. And then if he was right here, you had one shot, one question that you had to answer truthfully. What would you ask him?
I don't have any. For Gary Vee?
Yes.
How do you feel about God?
two is you would apologize for giving away handshakes.
I did apologize. I apologized before. I let him know one time. I've met him several times since then.
I'm just messing with you.
I referenced it though. You're not even wrong.
Such a pleasure. If you guys, if you're new, I'm going to preface this. If you're probably new, if you're new, just finding VeeFriends, Kowski file, because everyone has to file.
I got you.
So started to come full circle. Everybody knows Kowski. We finally got a chance to chat with you.
Likewise.
Appreciate you, brother. Have a great rest of your night, week, month, year. It's gonna be a good year. And the time scrolling is coming to an end. Excuse me, BTC before time.